Welcome everybody to Mom Street USA. My name is Kate, aka the Disney Cicerone, and joining me as always is Jackie, aka Wishes Mama. Tonight we are going to head on over to Epcot virtually for Food and Wine 2023. Some new things that they've added, and also things that you can do with kids while you're there, and and some new food too. They got some really great new food. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm excited. I know I was looking through all the menus. I was like, ooh, all the new things. And I was like, oh, I won't be at Epcot for Food and Wine this year. Darn. But that's okay.
Sad.
I will live vicariously through all and through you because you get to go next week, which is super exciting. So
I am very
this is
excited.
perfect timing for us to talk about the festival. That way you can experience it next week and report back on anything that we have questions about.
Yes, absolutely. I'll do my best. I know I'm going with my super foodie husband who
Perfect.
told me today all he wanted to do was walk around and sip something and eat and maybe shop. And I was like, I have to film rides. I was like, I need to go on some rides. I was like, he's like, oh, sure, we can do some rides. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, I need to do like all the rides. He was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure, we could do that." I'm like,
I mean, you've got some time
between the rides."
Right. You've got some time before Food and Wine starts, so just like front load all of your rides the beginning of the week. That way, when Food and Wine happens, you can devote your day to that and give Elliot a little bit of his list too.
Yeah, well, definitely making food a priority, which I never do. So this will be great.
Yeah.
But it'll be fun. So let's dig in with the dates for Food and Wine in case you're not aware of what Food and Wine. What is the actual name of this? It's like the International Food and Wine Festival, Epcot
International Food and Wine Festival.
Yeah,
Now
that sounds right to me.
Now I'm second guessing it. I think it's International Food and Wine Festival.
Yeah, we all just call it Food and Wine. This year it is July 27th through November 18th. And we did Food and Wine last year, right?
I don't think we did. I was thinking back to that too, and because we started in September last year, and I don't think the festivals were on our radar yet because we were just still trying to figure out this whole thing. So when I looked back, I don't think we may have talked a little bit about it because I know we talked about some stuff with like holidays, like which we'll talk about in a little bit with one of the scavenger hunts, but I don't know that we ever dove into Food and Wine last year.
Yeah, that sounds right that we didn't get to it because we were probably like, Food and Wine's almost over, so let's do it next year. And now next year is here. So
Yay, we did it. We're still here, you guys.
We're still here. Only because of all of you guys. So thank you for listening in. As we go through this episode, if you guys have extra input or you want to say that sounds really good or whatever, and those of you who are in the chat, feel free to speak up, or if you've heard something that we haven't, feel free to put your input into because we love hearing from you guys. So
yeah, especially when it comes to these festivals, because like Kate and I have tried stuff, but we haven't tried everything. So if there's stuff that we're talking about tonight that you're like, oh, I tried that, it's so good, or oh, this was really good, we love to kind of throw those in for our listeners and anyone who's listening after the fact that maybe isn't here live with us. That way they get all that good information from everyone included.
Yes, absolutely. So, do you want to talk a little bit of introduction about Food and Wine, what it is?
So basically, I mean, you guys, by this point, if you've been with us for almost a year, you know kind of how these festivals run at Epcot. Basically what happens is all of these kind of pop-up booths appear around World Showcase. They're all themed. They all have different food, but you do have some variation that Disney brings in and takes out and swaps and things like that. So one of the big questions that I feel like we get a lot, especially just about Epcot in general, is like a lot of people feel like it's not a very kid-friendly park, or maybe it's not as kid-friendly as some of the other parks. And I really think that with the festivals especially, there is a lot for the kids to do. So we want to highlight some of the things that are good for kids tonight. So it may not be everything that you would think of when it comes to Food and Wine, but trying to highlight some of that. We'll also give you kind of just the generic information about what happens during this festival. But it is very similar to what you find with the other festivals. The first thing is they always do some sort of a festival passport. So that is just a little booklet that you can pick up at any of the festival booths. You can find them inside of Connections. A lot of those types of places have them. So those are just little booklets that will give you the rundown of what the booths are, any special events they've got going on. And it serves the same purpose. Perfect. So that's an example of one from
in my drawer.
Yeah. In your drawer of everything.
This is not food and wine, but it gives
you the same idea. So it's just got these, little details about what you can expect, what you can find. A lot of this is available online, basically starting the day that the festival starts. And a lot of the information is available on your My Disney Experience app as well. So if you're looking for like specific booths or events and things like that, a lot of the times you can use that search function on your My Disney Experience app to be able to pull that up. But the passport will highlight all the activities and food, including full menu. And all of that is all included in there. So I would definitely utilize that, either look it up ahead of time, and then grab one when you get there. That way you've got it kind of in your hand, or screenshots, or, all of the above, depending on what you prefer. But I would definitely grab one of those. That way you've got it for reference if you need it as you're kind of walking around through World Showcase.
Yeah. And I usually find them either in the port of entry.
Mm-hmm. You can find them there.
They're in there. And also like every food booth usually has them, near the checkout counter. You can find the passports there as well.
Yeah. And some of the merch locations will have them too, especially the ones right on World Showcase Plaza, I think it's technically called. When if you're coming from Spaceship Earth and entering, going towards World Showcase, those merch locations that are kind of right around there typically have them. They're really pretty easy to find around the park. They're just little booklets like Kate showed, so super easy to throw in a bag or have with you. And my kids even like looking at them, especially my oldest is really into like maps and stuff. So like he always wants to grab a park map every time we go into the parks. I'm like, buddy, you have like 5 of these at home. And he's like, I know. It's like, okay.
Yeah, there'll also be things in there about like dietary restrictions. They have little symbols and whatnot that'll kind of give you a guide. They also say ones that are kid friendly. They usually have an icon for that. So if you're looking for ones, we'll obviously tell you a few tonight that are kid friendly as well. But if you're like, gosh, this is overwhelming, also vegetarian, plant-based, those kinds of details. So those are really helpful for you to have if you have specific dietary needs or if you're kids.
Absolutely. They typically do almost like little food scavenger hunts. I don't know a better way to describe it, but the one for food and wine, a lot of the food and wine stuff that you find is Ratatouille themed. So it's Remy and it's, those types of things. But they have Emile, who is Remy's brother, Emile's fromage montage, which is basically purchasing any 5 eligible items from the food and wine menus and booths, and you collect a stamp for each one. So Kate is showing you an example of what that kind of looks like. After the 5 stamps, you can redeem them. You can redeem them to collect a special prize. And your prize is a strawberry cheesecake soft serve topped with mini cheesecake and graham cracker crumbs inside of a souvenir cup. So Kate's showing you the photo of that. And it is the same as what they did last year for that prize for the fromage montage. So basically, if you're going to try 5 things that are on that list, and you can find that list inside your festival passport, you can find it on the menu, the menus that are outside of every location. And as you imagine, fromage is French for cheese. So it's a lot of the cheese dishes that you will find across all of the booths.
Perfect for me.
Yay. I know. I was going to say that's right up Kate's alley.
I was looking at the list and I'm like, I think I'm already planning on getting all of this. So I'm going to for sure get the little stamps. So do you get the stamps? Do you just give them your passport and they stamp it?
Yep. Like
I've
right
never
at
tried
the,
it before.
like right at the, like right when you pay. So basically you order, you pay, and then they'll stamp it for you. And you don't have to do it all in one day if you're someone that's going to be going to the festival for several days or on multiple trips, because it is a very long festival. It's not something that has to be done all at once. You could split it with people. So all of those are perfectly good with that. And that does not cost anything to participate in other than just the cost of the dishes that you're purchasing to eat anyway. So that's kind of a fun thing that you can do. Like Kate said, if you're already planning on eating 5 of those things on that list.
If you like cheese. You should do this because it's cute. Yes, they have the things that are on the list. I won't read them all, but they have things like the cheddar bacon soup in Canada that's super popular. They have the raclette in the Alps, which like I get every year. They've got mac and cheese from Mac and Eats. They've got griddled cheese. It's just like cheese things. So
Yes.
not all the cheese things it looks like, but a lot of the cheese things.
I would
So,
say like, yeah, 90% or so of the cheese-based or cheese-included items across all of the booths are going to be on there.
so get your stamps, friends, and
yes.
get your cheese treat.
And even your your prize at the end is cheesecake. So it's all very fitting. And that cup
love
is
it.
super cute, like a little souvenir cup to take home with you.
I mean, I didn't know that they did this for so long, like years. I think they've done it for a couple years now, and I've just never participated because I just didn't know that it was there. So something I've learned from Mom Street is that you can get an extra treat if you buy certain things. So super fun.
Yeah, and again, like we said, if you're spending the money already, might as well just make sure you get your stamps. And then I will say, if you forget, but like you still have your like receipt, I'm sure you could probably take it back to the counter and be like, hey, I forgot to get my stamp. I can't imagine they would have an issue with that as long as you have your receipt. So
Receipt, yeah, proof of purchase.
yes, yes. Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about some of the other events and things that they have. The bands and the performers that they bring into the American Pavilion stage. So for Food and Wine, it is called the Eat to the Beat series. And they've got, I mean, you can imagine with how long this festival is, the gigantic list of performers that come. But this is something that happens very frequently. It's not every night during the festival, so definitely check the schedule if there's something that you're wanting to see. But most of these performers will perform 2 or 3 nights. Some perform more depending on how popular they are. And it is 3 times each night that they actually perform. So a 5:30 show, a 6:45 show, and an 8 o'clock show. And again, some of these are very, very popular. Some are less popular. It just really depends. Some of the highlights, and I'm not going to read them all to you because there's probably, if I had to count, there's probably 100 bands on here.
I'm looking at the list.
Yeah, but basically, I mean, there's all sorts of people that are on there. Philip Phillips, the Baha Men, Mercy Me, Foreigner and Journey coverman, Toby Mac, 98 Degrees, Boys to Men, Sugar Ray, Hoobastank, Hanson is on there. We the Kings is on there. I know. We the Kings is on there for the first time. 38 Special. So they've got all sorts of really cool bands. Some are more well known than others, but they're super fun.
I'm really excited that when I'm there in November, Big Bad Voodoo Daddy is going to be there.
There's so much
swing
fun.
music.
Yes. Yes.
Super excited about that.
Yeah.
Now I need to find a concert buddy to go with because Ellie won't be with me at that time. So.
And they do also do dining packages. So if you're familiar with some of the other dining packages we've talked about in the festivals, it's just the Eat to the Beat dining package. And it is the same thing that you get with those other ones where at select Epcot restaurants, same day reservations will get reserved seating for one of the shows for that evening. So that information is all available in the My Disney Experience app. There's actually like a separate place that you find them. So definitely look that up if that's something that you're like, oh, there's a band I really want to see. If you know you're going to make a dining reservation in Epcot for that day, and it can be anytime that day. There's also several quick service restaurants that are usually located on there. I couldn't find like for sure, but the guests that I'm getting all of this from Disney Food Blog, so shout out to them for their coverage of all of these festivals at Epcot. They're super great.
As always.
Yes, so Disney Food Blog is saying that the Akershus, I always say that wrong, Beer Garden, Coral Reef, Garden Grill, Le Cellier, and then Regal Eagle, Rose and Crown, and Spice Road Table. So those are your options where you can book if it's a table service, you can book a reservation, and then that will automatically include your reserved seating for the show for that evening. And then for Regal Eagle, it's same day because they're a quick service restaurant. So you're going to want to be in line and kind of rope drop Regal Eagle if that's something you're wanting to do, because it is one of the more inexpensive ways to get those reserved seating for the shows. So they give like so many people in line like wristbands essentially that you use then for access to the show later in that evening. So,
well, and if you can't or don't get into one of these shows, loud, you literally can hear it for half of the World Showcase. So don't be stressed if you're like, I can't figure out how to get into that, or I missed my opportunity. You know, you can go. Sometimes, like, if you go and hang out on that little island that's kind of near Italy, you can kind of see, like, from the side, you can see the band. I've done that a couple times. You can literally just sit in Japan and just listen to it if you don't want to see it.
Right.
So
and they do have really a little bit of kind of like standing room along where they kind of rope off the seating area versus the walkway. There is a little bit of standing room. I wouldn't guarantee that because it's not, they don't let big crowds gather there because it is the walkway. But there's a little bit of standing room. I know I've pulled over our stroller there before just to like hang out for 5 minutes and listen, you know. So that is an option as well if you're just wanting to catch a few minutes here or there, depending on your preference with that.
And I would say also, as a parent, if you're going to take your kids to it, it is a very loud concert, very loud. So, you know, ear protection, or especially if you have littles that are sensitive to loud sounds, anything you can to protect their ears, because it is extremely loud. Like, sometimes I have earplugs, so just a little side.
Absolutely. And if you are looking at kind of like ballpark prices for those dining packages, if you're doing something like Regal Eagle, it's going to look to be around $35 per person. On the more expensive side, if you're looking at somewhere like Akershus, which has like the characters and that kind of thing, you're going to be looking more like $64 to $74 per adult. So again, take a look at what your dining reservations are, decide what you're going to do, and see if you can line those up to make that happen. If that's something that you're like, nope, we really need a seat or want a seat for this particular performer. Shall we move on to, this is my favorite part of the festivals. Can I just say that? These scavenger hunts.
Oh, yes.
I love
They're
them
really
so
fun,
much.
especially with
I just
kids.
think they're so much fun. And I think that's part of it. Like, my kids have done several of them and just like loved them so much. So not to be forgotten, there is a Remy Ratatouille hide and squeak scavenger hunt that they do throughout the length of the entire Food and Wine Festival. Most likely, if you've done it in the past, it's going to be the same or very, very similar locations for that. So I have found that it's not exactly repeatable year to year unless you have kiddos or you yourself have totally forgotten everything from the past year.
I mean, that sounds like something I would do. So.
Right, depending on your memory of all of that. But again, these are the same types of scavenger hunts that you see at the other festivals. They are $9.99. But if you do qualify for any sort of discounts, they do accept those. So DVC, AP, those types of discounts, they do accept those. And then there are prizes. We don't know what this year's prizes are going to be yet. We will find out in a week what the prizes are. But previously, they've done cups and plates with characters on them. They've done little like storage containers with characters on. You know, there's all sorts of different things that they've done in the past. So we will find out more about that next week. And that like I said, does run the entire length of the festival. So it will start next Thursday and run all the way through the end of Food and Wine. And like we've mentioned before with these, you technically are supposed to redeem them when you have completed them for your prize. However, the $9.99 or whatever price point you end up paying does pay for your prize, so it will let you pick it out when you pick up your scavenger hunt if that's something that you know you're going to be rushing to get it done or whatever it may be, or you know you're going to have to wait until after fireworks to finish it and they're going to be closed, whatever that may be. Just chat with them about your situation, and most of the time they're going to let you take that prize whenever you pick up the scavenger hunt.
Yeah, you don't have to finish the scavenger hunt if you're tired, if your kids are they're past it, if you're done for the day, you're like, I'm out of here. Just go collect your prize, friends, and go. Just don't. Like, they're not going to hold it hostage because you didn't find all of Remy around the showcase.
And there are several different prizes too. that they typically have like multiple characters, so you could always ask around about that, because there are usually 2 to 3 redemption locations if it follows suit with what we've seen in the past. So that is something that you can utilize as well.
Got it.
There he is. So they're just cute little Remy statues that are hidden throughout different places in World Showcase. So, and yeah, Holly says we may or may not have Googled for answers. I have also Googled for answers before too, because some of them, depending on
No
how much
shame.
time you want to devote to it, you know, if you've got kiddos that are little and maybe just you want to get them in the right area, so all they have to do is just kind of look from where they're standing.
Yeah.
That's very, very helpful. So in that respect, it is nice that kind of year to year, it's very similar, or almost exactly the same.
I see Rhonda says she loves scavenger hunts, and Jen says definitely wants to do scavenger hunt. They always look so fun. I agree. I haven't done one myself yet, so I want to try it.
And if you and Elliot are going to be walking around grabbing stuff from all the booths, you might as well grab one of those when you start and see what you can find.
Sounds like we're going to be doing a lot of walking and sipping and looking at stuff, so I guess we should do that.
Yes, you should. You should. Like I said, every time that we're there during a festival or a holiday, or, you know, good timing with that, I feel like we always pick up these for my kids, because it's just so much fun. And it really, truly does help. You know, they've got the KidCot stations, and there's lots of stuff for them to look at as you're walking around World Showcase, but this is just like a little bonus. And my oldest is so good at these, it's scary. Like the last time we did one, he found that he would run ahead, you know, a safe distance ahead, and he'd be like, look, I found it. And I'm like, I didn't even get a chance to look, and you already found
Not even
it.
in the land yet.
I'm not even in the right country. Come on. But it is super, super fun that they have those for the kids or adults, as you so choose to do that. And then the other scavenger hunts that they do, and these are more seasonal, but I did want to include this just because I don't know if we'll chat about it again before spooky season starts. But they have the Pluto's Pumpkin Pursuit scavenger hunt. So this actually runs and overlaps with the Remy one that we were just talking about. So it will run
September, October, I feel
yes. So basically it's the same thing. Costs the same amount. There are prizes just like the one we just talked about. Last year the prizes were these little character like Jacqueline, but they were super cute. So just depends. We have overlapped some before where both scavenger hunts have been going on, and it's like, okay, kids, which prize do you want more? That's the scavenger hunt that we're going to do.
I love it. That's
so
great.
we will look and see, you know, what they do.
And they're like this, right? Little character pumpkins.
Yep. So they're little
that you search
character
for.
pumpkins that you're finding all around. And yeah, and now this one where the Remy one is World Showcase specific. The seasonal ones are not World Showcase specific. They are across the park. So you can find stuff near Soarin', near Test Track, near Guardians, near Spaceship Earth. So they're all over the entirety of the park. So that may
you can
also
see it on
be
here. It's like the whole park.
so that may also be something that you consider when you're deciding which one you want to do. Because
How much of the park are you going to cover?
exactly. But yeah, so that may be something that you want to consider as well, depending on your preference with that. So this says, okay, thank you, Disney Food Blog. It looks like September 29th through October 31st is your pumpkin scavenger hunt.
It's mostly just October.
So the very end of September and then into October. Either way, both of them are super fun. Really great ways to kind of play as you run around World Showcase and give your kiddos something extra to do. And mine just love the fact that like they had their own little board with like, I think my kids still have theirs because they won't let me like, they're like, no, we're keeping this forever. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You keep that. And they got to do their own stickers and put them, you know, because you get to place the stickers where you find them on the map. And it's super fun and interactive for kids to do.
No, every time I give my kids like maps, that's the thing I bring my kids home now is maps at the parks, and they love those, and they just want to hoard them. And I'm like,
yes,
great!
I
That's
brought
a wonderful
my
souvenir.
When I went on my trip in May and my kids didn't go with me, I brought park maps home because, especially like I said, especially my oldest, maps are like his thing. He's like, I'm going to tell us where we're going to go next. I'm like, you do that. I'm good with that. because then you're going to learn your way around and you're going to know what's where, and that makes my life easier.
That's awesome.
So, long story short, the scavenger hunts are super fun, and you should pick one if you're down there during Food and Wine, or if you're down there during the spooky month of October and want to do the pumpkin one as well. And like Kate said, even if you don't want to pay to do it and you just want to find them, you can find those lists. I mean, it took me all of 5 minutes to Google to find the list from last year. So if that's something that you just want to find, but you don't necessarily need the board and the stickers and the prize and all of that, that is still something that you can do. Yeah. It's not like they become visible when you buy the
That'd be cool,
the board.
Though.
That would be really cool.
That would be
really
worth
cool.
my $10.
If they're invisible and then they just magically become visible after you have the board in your hand, that would be next level Disney magic.
It would. So shall we move on to something new that I think we are both really excited about?
Yes.
This would be the Muppet Labs inside Brew Wing in the Odyssey building. So Disney's calling the new Muppet Labs an experience with flavorful adventure featuring the culinary creations and madcap mishaps of the Muppet Labs, which I'm so excited about this.
We don't really know a ton about what to expect with it, other than obviously Bunsen and Beaker in some way, shape, or form doing things with food inside of the Odyssey building. So it'll
Could be anything.
Super interesting to see what it is that they do with this. And I could not be happier that the Muppets this fall and into the winter are like, we've got 2 things featuring them because they're going to be at the Jollywood Nights in Hollywood Studios and at this and Epcot. Like, it just makes me happy.
They're making a comeback.
I know.
I tell you. Look,
I know.
they're cooking and setting things on fire.
Yeah, so we don't know what that's going to look like, but it is something new coming to brewing inside of the Odyssey building. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely take a look at the map to figure out where that is, because if you go all the way out to World Showcase, you've gone too far. You need to come back a little bit. So yeah, I'm really interested to see what in the world that's going to be. I hope that it's like live in-person Muppets, because I think that will be super fun.
If it's not, if it's just like, oh gosh, if it's like a projection or recording or something and there's going to be a revolt, we're like, come on.
All the
They're
Muppets,
Muppets.
the diehard Muppet fans are going to be like, listen, Disney, you told us it was going to be the Muppets. So yeah, we'll have to see.
I mean, I wish they would bring back the America show in Magic Kingdom, the Muppet show.
I never got to see it.
Oh no, really?
I saw it like
That was my
videos, but I never got
favorite.
to actually see it.
It was such a perfect thing because Liberty Square really needed something more kid friendly, and so that was like perfect for that. And then it would also kind of like something you could chill underneath the Liberty tree and you could watch the show. It was so fun. I'm sad that they took it away. Anyway.
Well, maybe this is our way of bringing some of the Muppet things back. Hopefully it will be a very large draw and Disney will see how important the Muppets are and that we need more Muppets in our lives.
Yes.
So hopefully. So let's launch into now talking about the food, because this is Food and Wine Festival. So as we kind of stated at the beginning, we're not going to go through every menu. We're not going to go through every option that they have. We're going to talk mostly about what's new, but then also highlight some kiddo-friendly options that they do have. So that's kind of where we're headed this direction. So if you guys have other stuff that you want to add to the lists that we're going to give, please feel free to put them in the comments. We will gladly include those in our show and make sure that everyone hears about them. So
Yeah, if we were doing all of the festival booths, we'd be here all night talking about the food.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do that to you. We're just going to highlight what we think you shouldn't miss or that would be good for kids and stuff. So
yeah, and the festival menus are all now available on the Disney website, on Disney Food Blog, on the My Disney Experience app. If you search the booth that you're wanting the menu of, they're on there as well. So lots of places that you can find them. They're not hiding, so they should be really easy. And if you can't for some reason find them, send us a message. We'll help you out. If you're like, I was looking and I can't find them, we got you. So a couple of new booths that they announced this year. We've got a Flavors of America booth coming, a Bubbles and Brine booth, a Char and Chop booth. I like a lot of these are like something and something. There's a Swirled Showcase booth, which I think is a fun name for that, and a Wine and Wedge booth. So they've got lots of new booths coming, which is exciting. I haven't tracked these festivals previously before we really started doing deep dives into them for Mom Street, so I don't know if having 5 new booths is normal or not. But I think it's exciting.
3-ish.
Okay.
Like sometimes they swap out. They usually have like a couple that they just kind of like change every year, and then the rest of the countries are kind of set. But the ones that are, I want to say like in port of entry area, going in, those are usually the ones they change from.
Okay.
There's a couple others that they do too, but I think those are the main ones that I see change year to year. Mm-hmm. I could be wrong.
Right.
If anybody's a festival foodie and I'm wrong,
if you're a festival guru, let us know. And so a lot of the research and looking that I did for this year's festival, I did find on Disney Food Blog. Again, complete credit to them, shout out to them. I think all of the photos that I pulled are from their website, and a lot of this information is from them. So huge shout out to them. They are a massively helpful guide and resource for anyone planning, and they don't do just food, they do all sorts of news for Disney, so shout out to them. We appreciate their coverage because it makes our lives a little bit easier. But they're reporting there are over 50 new menu items coming as well, so not only do we have those 5 new booths, which are obviously going to have 3 to 6, depending on drinks and beverages and things like that, new items there, but a lot of the other festival booths are also getting a ton of new stuff as well. And Disney Food Blog does also have a festival map that they have available on their website. Our good friend Kirk at Walrus Carp also has a festival guide that will be available. Got to confirm the locations of the booths before he can go ahead and publish that out for everyone.
That makes sense.
So stay tuned to that, and we will make sure that we link that once it's out, that we'll circle back around and link that in the episode notes for this episode. That way you guys can find that as well. His map tends to be the most helpful, I feel like, as far as it really lays out the locations of everything, which I feel like is super helpful because for whatever reason...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. For whatever reason, Disney doesn't do a great job of mapping out exactly where everything is. You can search things in their app, but they don't have an overview map of the festival.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I like Kirk's map also because he gives you kind of the highlights of all the things, his recommendations for what to try. So if you're just feeling overwhelmed by the amount of food that you could get, it's kind of a good jumping off point to get some recommendations from someone who's eaten at it for years. So
right, yeah, absolutely. So speaking of new, let's talk about some new things for kids. So again, we're kind of focused on good things for kids this episode, and we don't have pictures of these because they're new.
They're new.
So, at the Alps booth, they have this is one that I am interested in seeing. They have a dark chocolate fondue with berries, pound cake, and meringues. So I feel like that is an interesting...
I'm excited for that one. Yeah. That's on our list.
I want to see I just want to see the presentation. I want to know what it tastes. You know what I mean? All of it. I'm fascinated to see what they're doing with that.
Me too.
And then this next one I know is, I think, also on your list. At the Fry Basket booth, they are doing pickle fries with dill ranch, as a dipping.
Yeah, which I'm convinced that this might be really similar to the ones we see at Roundup Rodeo, but I'm interested to see if they're not. Maybe they'll be different. So
yeah, and it's hard to tell because it's not at, the Fry Basket booth is not one that you think of where something's going to be regional or country specific. So it's they could literally do whatever they want with them.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens with that.
I'm excited for that.
And then let's see, at the Italy booth, there's 2 new things. There is a cavatelli pasta with sweet sausage ragu and crispy applewood smoked bacon. So if you've got kiddos that are pasta fans, that is a new offering for them. And then they also have a lemon ricotta cheesecake with vanilla cream and strawberry compote.
Which sounds really good.
Sounds good, yeah. So if you've got kiddos that Italian food, for whatever reason, my kids are super fans of. So I'm both of those, they would totally try.
Yeah, I feel like they changed most of Italy's menu this year, probably because for some reason, and I think it's a crime, for some reason, the Italy menu is always one of the worst of the festival. And I don't know why, because Italian food is so good.
Yeah.
Somehow they just, they just don't get it. So I'm hoping this
swing
year
and a miss usually.
they like change the whole menu. Maybe it'll be better. We can hope.
Right.
A girl can dream.
Right. Let's see. And then another one that Kate mentioned actually I think it was last week or one of the past weeks in our Q&A episode when we were talking about food and wine, at the refreshment port, they have a cinnamon sugar beaver tail that they're going to be offering.
Which people, I think my husband asked me, he's like, what is a beaver tail? And I was like, I looked it up because I knew, I remember it a little bit because it was in Disney a long time ago. But it's essentially like an elephant ear if you're familiar with like food at the fair. So a giant piece of fried dough with cinnamon sugar.
So see what that one ends up like. And then the last booth that had some new stuff for kids is at the American Adventure. They have a candied bacon funnel cake topped with vanilla ice cream and candied bacon, and also has candied bacon and a maple syrup drizzle on the top. So if you've got bacon fans, that is definitely one from them. So
I'm having a hard time getting on board with the bacon with sweet things. I don't know. I've tried it a couple times and I'm always like, I don't know if I like this, but everybody has different tastes. But I was like, I don't know.
Right. Ooh, Victoria is saying in my chat that she saw today, possibly from WWNT or one of those types of news sources, that they have removed the beaver tail from the menus. So
okay,
I guess we will see what happens.
Alexis just came back from Canada and tried a beaver tail there, and Maggie says it's Canadian. So that makes sense that the beaver tail will be Canadian.
Yes,
as somebody from the Pacific Northwest, we are the beaver state here in Oregon. Although we don't have any beavers because we over-trapped them way back in the day, and now we just have nutria everywhere, and they're gross. So.
Sad day.
It's sad,
That's a very sad story about being a beaver.
Sorry. It's true though. Like I've never seen a beaver. I've lived here my whole life. I've moved around, but I've lived here majority of my life. I've never seen a beaver. Oh no. But we have a beaver on our flag. Does that count?
Sure. Sounds good. Well, and it is at the refreshment port, which is a permanent location that's not like a pop-up festival booth, but it is right before you get to the Canada Pavilion, if I'm remembering correctly where that location is. So that makes sense that it's a Canadian thing when it comes to the beaver tail. So I guess we shall see about the beaver tail next week. So those are kind of your new options that look to be kiddo friendly. Again, all of this is always dependent on what your kid likes, what they don't like. So mileage may vary depending on your child. But we are going to talk now about kind of pulled a top 10 list of festival booth options for kids. So these are options that are not new. So this is all stuff that has been at the festivals before that I've tried quite a few of these. And I can say with confidence that I usually get pretty good food at Food and Wine. So
yeah. Okay. So should we do the first one? This recommended is in France, and it has my favorite thing in it, which is cheese. So it's a beignet à trois fromages, warm beignet filled with 3 cheese blend. So it looks like this. Has a lot of cheese pouring out of it.
Yes.
So
yes, we got this last October, and I wasn't ready for there to be the amount of filling inside that there is.
No.
Like I knew there was cheese, but like I bit into it, and it just like gooey cheese deliciousness, but it was all over the place. So I would suggest, because it's also very hot, cut this, yes, like a cheese donut, Kristen, exactly. I would slice it and also help with that filling. Yes. So like it was delicious and lovely and wonderful, and I would get it every time, but I wasn't ready. And luckily it was me and not my kids.
Yeah. Stephanie says they didn't like this at all. So, there's always different opinions on some of this food. So thanks, Stephanie, for giving your input. Some people might like it. You can tell us what you didn't like about it. That's maybe you got a cold one or something. Sometimes that happens. And then it's like, yuck. So.
Yeah, and I will say that these festival booths do churn out food as quickly as they possibly can, and depending on the ebb and flow of the demand, you may get one that's hot off the press, and you may get one that's sat under a heat lamp for a little bit. So that could be again,
Yeah.
part of the quality issue there.
Stephanie said hers was not warm. See, so that would be it. So you got yours like way too hot. She got hers not hot enough. We
I
need
feel like
the
we're
Pooh
in
Bears. We need
Goldilocks.
I love that we both went there.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, I got something like a lemon drop or something in Japan last year, and I had like fruit flies floating in it.
Yep.
So, in that case, if that happens to you, go and ask for another one because that's gross. I didn't realize till after I drank some, which was the worst.
I remember because you were with Kirk and he was live and we were all experiencing this all at the same time.
Ew. Yeah, not a win. So
No.
if there is something wrong with your food, if it does not taste good, if it's not hot enough or whatever, you can always go back and say like, this doesn't, like, something's wrong with this. Like, I don't, and usually they will replace it for you if it's like a quality issue because they don't want to serve you something that's not good. So
Right. Absolutely. Yes. So choice number 1 for kids in our top 10. Number 2, Belgian waffles. So they've got a Belgian waffle with a warm chocolate ganache, and they've also got a Belgian waffle with a berry compote on it, which just like yum. You can't go wrong with a Belgian waffle. I feel like as long as the waffle is cooked thoroughly, I think you're in good hands.
yeah, as long as the waffle's crispy and not soggy. So yeah.
Yes. So definitely
really good.
some good options there. And I think the berry one is on there as well, Kate, if you can swipe.
yes,
I think
sorry.
I pulled both. No, you're good. I know. Sometimes it's hard to coordinate photos and what we've got. There it is. Perfect. Yeah,
looks really good.
I know. That's what I was thinking. Like I'm a chocolate person, but I think that berry one would probably be the one that I would get. It just
Me too.
looks like pie filling on the top, and that just sounds delicious.
It looks really fresh. I love that.
Yes, so those are both great options if you are in the Belgium area and are looking for something sweet for your kiddos, because those will definitely satisfy a sweet tooth.
Yes, definitely. And I feel like waffles are so kid friendly. Like my kids, and you could, I don't know, can you ask for any toppings on the side? I'm wondering.
I bet you could.
Yeah,
You
especially
may have to
people with
wait a
allergies
few
and things.
extra minutes if they're, working on a fresh batch or whatever, so that way there's no cross-contamination if that's an issue, if it's an allergy or an intolerance. But I would imagine they could put it on the side for you.
Yeah, because I know my kids, like my kids don't like food to touch. Like they want to control how much sauce is on whatever. And
Yeah.
I get that. So,
Right.
I think that's an important factor for that.
Yeah. And I think as long as you keep in mind, these festival booths are not full kitchens. They don't always have access to everything. But I would feel like something like asking for that on the side, or asking for, 2 plates, one with the waffle on it and one with everything else on it. Probably a fairly reasonable request for them.
Yeah, probably not with stuff that's like cooked into things at all, but things that are like easily just separated out. I think that's a reasonable request, and most likely will accommodate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you kind of a 2 for 1 on number 2, but those Belgian waffles are number 2 on our top 10 list for kids.
All right, so off to number 3, we're going to Brazil, which, little side note, I was just looking up, there's a pavilion that was going to be the Brazil Pavilion way back in the day in 1978, and I just found the model for it. And I was just like, we were going to have Brazil. Anyway, so, gosh, I'm not going to pronounce this right. Do you know how to pronounce this? Peo de...
Queijo?
Queijo? Could be.
That's my best. That's my best guess. I don't yet. Same. I got nothing really. That's my best guess. But it's a Brazilian cheese bread.
Yes. Which actually does look really good.
Yeah, I think the texture looks really good. I think that I have not tried this one, but I think we opted for the beignet cheese bread instead of this one on the last trip that we were on. And we were like, okay, we already did one cheese bread. We cannot just fill. We cannot just fill our children's stomachs with only cheese bread. We got to find something else.
That's fair. Pick your favorite cheese bread. We'll get that one.
Exactly. So, there's that. But yeah, that one I feel like is super kid friendly. Again, quality control may or may not be in your favor depending on if you get a warm one or not. But that one looks a little bit safer if you're not getting something piping hot than the beignet option, when it comes to that. So Allie Beth says I would live on that if I could. I mean,
Same.
Yeah.
Yes, cheese with a side of cheese, please.
Yeah, see, for us, it's okay, but I feel like as a mom, I'm like, I should probably give my children some variety, maybe a little
If
bit.
you have to. I mean, no, I mean, it is. It is good for their diet and all that,
Right.
but
You
I
know,
really just want to eat
those
cheese.
important things. Well, Kate, you are an adult and you get to make those decisions.
I know. But I have to eat other things besides cheese sometimes too.
That is
For
true.
myself.
That is true. So number 4 on our list is from the Japan Pavilion, and it is the teriyaki chicken bun. So it is a steamed bun filled with chicken, vegetables, and teriyaki sauce. So if you've got kids that are teriyaki fans, if you've got, that flavor palette is good with them, this would definitely be a good protein option for your kiddos. Because a lot of the options I feel like for kids can be on the sweet side.
Yeah, a lot of sugar.
Yeah. So this is a good option for a protein for your kiddos as you're snacking around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great one. And it's simple flavors that they mostly would recognize too. So I think that's
Right.
always helpful when there's a lot of flavors that are new or adventurous, and not
Yeah.
every kid is open to that. So
Yeah, it's a very safe combination. I feel like that probably a lot of kids have tried, just in day to day at home or, that type of thing. So I feel like that's a good option for protein for them as you're wandering around, like I said.
yeah, for sure. All right, so on to number 5 of our top 10 recommendations for kid food and food and wine. We have the Flavors of America freshly baked carrot cake with cream cheese icing.
Yeah, so this one kind of looks like a little carrot cake muffin. It's kind of cute.
There's this one. I'm trying to find it. Here we go.
Yep. With lots of icing on the top. So all of that icing, you could probably ask for it on the side, and you could do a little more control with the ratio there. But cake can be hit or miss at Disney. But I do feel like the flavors, at least in this one, are for sure going to be kiddo friendly if you know that they like carrot cake. So
Yeah, that's a
fairly
great one.
straightforward.
Definitely, it definitely has a lot of icing on it. So another sweet one like we've seen. I think we've said this before, that Disney World in general just has like an overwhelming amount of like sweet options, but not as many
Yeah.
savory.
Especially when it comes to
healthy
like their
options.
specialty stuff or like holiday stuff or celebration stuff, whatever they're celebrating, regardless of what it is. Even like, looking at the stuff that was out earlier this month for 4th of July, it was like all sweet based.
Yeah.
It was sweet
Yeah.
drinks, it was cupcakes, it was cake, it was mousse, it was, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, but where are the savory options?
They're in Disneyland.
They're all in California.
Well, they would never get away with that in California because of the locals. They people who are going in there after work all the time are not going to want to have unhealthy. And it's also the culture in California is a little bit more health conscious versus people on vacation in Florida. Calories don't count at Disney.
Right, I was going to say they'll eat a lot more sweets than you would at home because it doesn't count when you're at Disney.
And you're walking like twice as much, so
right,
really they're doing a lot of walking there.
Yeah, and Grace, I agree. I do feel like it's always cupcakes too. Like it
is like so many cupcakes, and they're always, some of them are okay, but a lot of them are not great.
No,
it's like
I will say,
dry bread with a ton of like frosting. That's all it is.
And I will say this cream cheese icing on this one does look a little more forgiving than some of the icings that we see on the other cupcake type treats. If you do end up getting a drier cake, I feel like that will help kind of make the bite together a little bit better. It'll redeem it a little bit.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. Alrighty.
So that was 5. Let's move on. So our next couple actually all come from the Germany booth. So
just go to Germany. That's all you need to know.
I mean,
nothing else.
I have German heritage, so I feel like I may be biased, but I also, who knows? So number 6 on our top 10 options for kiddos at Food and Wine from the Germany Pavilion is the, Shine.
I was waiting for it.
What is Schinkanoodle? Which is,
I don't know. I didn't even look at it. I was like, I'm not even going to try that.
It's a pasta.
Schinken noodle.
Yeah.
Shinken noodle?
Something like that.
Shinken noodling.
Noodling. Yeah. You got to get the noodling in there. Mind you, that's all one word. For those of you that can't read what we're reading, it is all one word. But it is a pasta gratin with ham, onions, and cheese. So it's like a baked pasta with, with those potatoes, onions, and cheese in there. So
It's like lasagna with potatoes.
yes, basically. I know, Allie Beth, I always end up getting stuck reading all of these, I feel like. And Kate is always like, look at the photo. And I'm like,
I
this
Brazil.
is cool.
I was like, I don't know what this is.
I'm just playing. But I feel like when we did, what was it? We did DCA Food and Wine that I was like butchering. I was like, I can't. I'm so done. And I looked down through these, and that was like, that one in Brazil were like the two hardest ones to pronounce. But anyway, pasta, ham, onions, cheese, pretty
lasagna.
safe. Yeah, it's a lasagna, basically. So definitely wanted to stick that on our list.
Okay, moving on.
Yes, so that was number 6 from the Germany Pavilion.
Number 7 is also the Germany Pavilion, and this is a bratwurst on a pretzel roll with mustard. I can tell why you picked that because it's hot dog-esque, although it's not hot dog. And pretzel, even if your kid won't touch the bratwurst, they probably might touch the bread. So.
Right. You get one or the other. If you get both, that's a home run. So
yes, there you go.
It's your basic German sausage. So if you know that they're hot dog sausage fans, that's a safe bet for your kiddos. And again, like we've talked about, I'm sure you could ask no mustard. You could ask for the mustard in a separate container if you want to portion control how much you've got on there. All of those things are definite possibilities if you just ask kindly to the cast members.
I mean, this looks great for kids. I don't know if I'm excited about this as an adult. I'm just like, this looks like bread with
it's very plain
bratwurst.
Yeah.
And some random mustard.
Right. Like they could dress it up with a topping of some sort.
It does look dry.
In that particular one
picture.
It did. Yeah. But I will say that usually I don't personally have a huge issue with any of the pretzel like things that I've gotten in Germany, because I've gotten other pretzel items from Flower and Garden. They had a pretzel bun with ham and Gruyere and that on it, which was really, really good and had no issues there. I've gotten pretzels from Germany before, so fingers crossed, hopefully it was just that particular one. Maybe they let it sit out too long before they took the photo. I don't know.
Or they could be, doing the like content creator thing and like taking like 5 million pictures and video and then it dried out as you play. I also think I feel like it's missing like a topping. Like it needs some sort of topping on it to look more appealing. But because it doesn't have a topping is why we're recommending it for kids. So
right. And I don't know if true German bratwurst would have a topping.
Yeah,
I know what I mean.
I'm trying to think of like sauerkraut.
Possibly that would be the only thing that I could think of, because I also feel like the other question I had as I was looking this up, just because I just had that question, was I don't know that they serve mustard with their bratwurst, but I could be wrong.
I don't know if I ever had a bratwurst proper when I was in Germany.
Oh, maybe a horseradish, maybe?
I was there for Easter, so we had like Easter food. I don't know.
Carrie says, yes, sauerkraut is most common. So yeah, I would think something like that. So
yeah, caramelized onions and peppers. See, I don't know if they would do onions and peppers. Maybe onions, but maybe not the peppers.
Right, because they had onions in the pasta we were just talking about. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name of it again.
Come on.
So I feel like onions are probably a good bet. So something to that respect might be helpful. And so if you've got kids that enjoy just a plain old hot dog with some mustard or, sausage, then this is for them.
Yeah, exactly. So shall we go on to our next Germany item?
Number 8. I got this one from the Germany Pavilion, our Germany booth. We've got to get a little bit of sweet in there. They do have an apple strudel with a vanilla sauce, which looks just like a little, it looks like a little apple pie, just like cut up the side. I feel like that you'd get it
like a pocket.
Yeah, like a pita pocket, but with an apple pie instead. But I think that looks delicious.
Yes, I agree.
So I definitely think that would be a good option for kiddos. Again, more of the sweet, but we gave you a couple savory options from this booth too. So I just feel like the Germany booth in general is just very kid friendly.
Okay, but like the color palette is like it's all the same color.
Apparently, that's the German food color palette, Kate.
The German food way. I'm just laughing. I'm like, they're all the same color.
Yep. Yep. Very, very similar in color there. So yes, those are all, yep, yellows and browns. That's what you get in Germany, apparently. At least in Epcot. Might not hold true for actual Germany, but at least in Epcot, that's what you're looking at when it comes to food and wine. And I will say, I don't know off the top of my head what else is on that menu, but I feel like there can't be much else other than, obviously I know they have some German beers probably on that menu as well. But as far as food,
Flower
goes,
Garden had like all beige stuff too, because I had like pretzel rolls and potato pancakes. So this is just the German palette.
yeah, that's right, because they had potato pancakes. Yep. Okay. Well,
all the same color.
Yeah. Now I'm interested to see if when we circle back to like the other like Festival of the Holidays and Festival of the Arts, what they have there.
Oh. Now you'll never be able to unsee it when you go by festival booths in Germany. You'll be like, this is where they serve the beige food.
You want beige? We've got beige. Head on to Germany. Okay, number 9. Kate, would you like to tell us about number 9 on our top 10 list of food for kids at Food and Wine?
Yes. Okay. Whew. So we're headed to Australia, and we're going to do the lamington. So this is a yellow cake with raspberry filling with chocolate and coconut. And I've heard so many good things about this. It does look really delicious.
Yeah, I enjoy the layers on this one. I feel like I was like, oh, look, it's so pretty. But again, cake can be very questionable at Disney. So
yes,
it could be very dry. You may get a wonderfully delicious piece that is not dry. So just keep that in mind. But for kiddos, they probably care a little bit less if it's dry because it's cake.
Yeah.
And that's exciting to them. So.
Well, it's interesting because Australia was also going to be one of the countries that we were going to get an Epcot World Showcase, and we never got. They had a big, giant Sydney Opera House jetting out into the water, which would have been really cool to have. So, all the things. I counted it, and it was 28 countries. Was like if we had gotten all the ones that they'd tried to get over the years, we would have had 28 countries instead of 11.
Oh my gosh!
Crazy?
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Is there even room for 28?
No, like some of the.
I was gonna say,
but they had like sections, you know, that were portioned off for things, and they're like, maybe we'll put this country in there, and then like the deal fell through, or maybe we'll put this country in there, and like it just never happened. So, but they had planned to have 10 to 30. That was in the original prospectus because they were going to put them. Like, sorry, little Disney history lesson.
That's okay.
So, you know how we had the Communicore, how it's like 2 semicircles? That's how Epcot was originally supposed to be for the World Showcase. So it would have been 2 semicircles. And the idea is it was kind of like a slice of pie so that, you know, these little like wedges, these triangles, so that every country had an equal amount of like storefront, so to speak. Yeah. And so all the countries were equal. That was the plan. But then... the reason it's not that way is I think it was Harper Goff who made a whole bunch of drawings and stuff, and he put them up above his desk, and he was like, he didn't say anything to anybody, but he made it more like the one we have today, where it was like, there was kind of an island in the middle, and there was water, and then countries around the water, and he just put it up behind his desk, and every time everybody came in, there was like subliminal messaging, like, this is a better idea for World Showcase.
I never said anything, just left it on the wall.
No, and then it just got, then they eventually are just like, you know, what if we just had it, you know, be around a body of water instead? He's like, oh,
that's a great idea. I love that idea.
Great.
That's amazing. I love that so much.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Little
tiny Disney history lesson.
Yeah. And we have what, 11?
11. Yeah.
So we're on the very low end. Come on, Disney, give us more countries.
I know.
More cool
There's
stuff.
space for him. We got little wedges of space.
Yeah. Plenty.
Anyway,
so that was the Lamington in the Australia booth.
Sorry. I can't turn it off.
Fine. Totally fine. Okay, so rounding out the top 10, and again, these are our top 10 choices for kiddos at Food and Wine, is in the Brew Wing area, which I don't want to call it a booth because it's technically inside of the what is it? The Odyssey Pavilion. Yes, the Odyssey Pavilion. And it is the garlic Parmesan wings. Now this one is a little bit more like you really got to make sure that your kiddo is going to enjoy wings and likes that garlic Parmesan flavor. Because they do have like a sauce on the outside and, you know, textures and all that kind of stuff.
It's got green stuff on it.
Yes. So this one was kind of like one of those that I put on the list and I was like, you may get some older kids or some kids that just really love wings. You never know, right? So those garlic Parmesan wings are number 10 on our top 10 list of things for kiddos.
Yeah, I feel like excuse me, my daughter who loves chicken would probably love that. So
yeah, I feel like if I was able to cut them for my kiddos, they would eat them with a fork, no problem. They would not pick them up with their fingers.
I know. I feel like one of my kids is like, I am not eating anything off a bone ever. Yeah. Like, no.
Oh yeah, no, you got to cut it off the bone or else my kids won't eat it either.
Like and I'll be honest, I to do that themselves, but
I don't know for sure. And someone may know more than me with the brewing booth if they have like all bone in, any boneless. Like I don't know exactly what that makeup is. If I'm being completely honest, inside that booth,
sure looks like it has a bone.
I thought it was all bone in, but I could be wrong. So if anyone knows, you can correct me. Otherwise, we'll have to look it up and see what we can find. But that's what I know from looking at the picture. None of them say boneless, so my guess would be they're probably all bone in, which is what I kind of thought from just looking at it.
That was it. That was the top 10 for kids. Looks like we're going to talk about a couple other features at the festival before we wrap it up.
Yes. So a couple other just little features. Oh no, what?
Well, both Lissy and Ginger say boneless wings are like chicken nuggets for kids. Ginger says chicken. Boneless are just oversized chicken nuggets, and that's pretty much pretty true.
A little crispier on the outside sometimes, but
a little extra breading,
fancy.
Maybe. Yeah.
But yeah, you're not wrong. But again, my kids are going to want to know if there's a bone in there because they're not going to bite into it. They're going to make me cut it off the bone if they want to eat it.
Yeah, that's really fun to do, especially in,
with plastic cutlery in a tiny little cardboard boat that they give it, which is no fault of their own because if it were adults eating everything or children that are good with wings, then it wouldn't be a problem. But I just envision my children going, I'm not picking that up. I'm not going to eat that. I don't want it. I don't care if it's chicken and I'll like it. I don't want it.
Yep. Same.
Yes, exactly. So a couple other festival features, and these are things that we saw last year that we're anticipating returning again this year. Again, we are a week out from the beginning of Food and Wine, so we don't know exactly specifics, but last year they did a whole meet and greet with Chef Daisy, which I think is super fun. So she's all dressed up in her cute little costume, which again, super, super fun to find. And that meet and greet happened kind of near the entrance to World Showcase, I believe, in one of those little like gazebo areas. So cute.
Chef Daisy. Yes.
But they do a special song and light show on Spaceship Earth. So last year we got Be Our Guest during Food and Wine. So we anticipate that they will continue that trend. They started with back for like the Beacons of Magic with the 50th anniversary celebration. But it's something that they've continued to do even after the 50th officially ended. So we're anticipating some sort of a show again on Spaceship Earth.
I wonder what they'll do.
I'm
excited. Hopefully they've got something new.
They did something new for Flower and Garden. So
it's not that hard. They just have to program the lights to the music. It's not like they have to train performers. It's not that like extra expense beyond the person who's programming it. So
So depending on that. So hopefully cross our fingers because I think that is one of the most fun things that has come to Epcot in recent years is having the ability to just like hang out. And I just feel like they've picked such good music to do it too. I mean, we've got, the first Festival of the Arts that happened when they did it. We got Rainbow Connection, which was super fun.
Love that one.
This year, Festival of the Arts, they did Colors of the Wind. Flower and Garden this year did What Else Can I Do from Encanto. So like they've just lots of really good music, and I feel like it's so much fun to just sit in that plaza and just, it's such a vibe to just hang out there, and like my kids love it too. So
I have to say, the lights on Epcot were probably one of the best parts of the 50th to come out of it. And I'm so glad that they didn't take them down. Like, I know that they took things off of the castle, even though they left the castle painted its new colors. But I think the lights was the most brilliant thing.
But I feel like almost everyone can probably agree that the lights on Spaceship Earth should stay forever.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
And I think I did see something when Disney has been teasing the 100th anniversary that will eventually be coming to Epcot. So for anyone who didn't know, we're celebrating the Disney Animation Studios 100th anniversary, and that celebration is going to be coming to Epcot. So not to Magic Kingdom, it's going to be coming to Epcot. And I did see they teased something earlier this week or within the last 2 weeks that showed that they were going to be utilizing Spaceship Earth for part of that celebration. So that'll be interesting to see what they do.
Well, I know they're going to open up the Moana wave water thing fairly soon-ish, in the next couple months. Fall. Yeah.
Fall.
Soon-ish. And hopefully a lot of those walls will come down in Epcot so that we can not have Epcot walls after so many years of Epcot walls.
Right.
So I'm hoping the 100th celebration and then that happening, hopefully we'll get kind of like Epcot back from the construction zone that it's been forever.
Right. I mean, it's crazy to think that some of these walls have been up since
3 years,
2020,
Yeah. A long time.
Yeah.
It's like there's part of our life now, the walls.
Right.
It's going to feel weird when they're not there. We're going to be like, where'd the walls go?
Right. Like, wait a minute. This is open. I can see across this plaza. What is this? It will be very odd. No one will know where to go anymore. Everyone will continue to take the long way around because no one will know which paths actually are the quickest way to get from point A to point B anymore.
Well, it's funny. We're like, we don't go straight anymore. Like we haven't gone straight in so long. Right. We've forgotten what it's like to go straight. Right. We're going to go right. We're going to go left.
Yeah,
that's it.
Exactly. There will be no one going straight. It's just going to be an empty walkway because everyone's going to continue taking their pathways that they've been taking for years.
That'll be our rope drop technique. It's just go straight and you'll go faster than everybody else.
So true. If you know, you know. That's too funny. So yes, long roundabout. Let's bring it back.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I went with you. We went on a journey out and around the Epcot walls. It's fine.
We took a walk around Epcot.
We did. But yes, so we'll see what song choice they make for Spaceship Earth for this festival. I'm always excited to see what they choose, so it'll be fun. And then a couple other things that they have. They always do special magic shots for the festival. So they have a lot where you can hold Remy or, things like that. A lot of the times they also have, it's not technically a magic shot, but they have props that'll have the festival logo on them or things like that. So if that's something that interests you, then that is something you can ask your PhotoPass cast member about whenever you go to get your pictures taken. And then the last thing, we cannot leave without mentioning the merch. So they have released photos of a lot of the merch that is going to be coming this year. So there are several photos on there, Kate, which I'm sure you saw. So they've got all sorts of stuff that they've announced that are coming. They've got ears, they've got bags, they've got t-shirts, they've got little wine tumblers, that's a little serving tray with Casita from Encanto on it, which is so much fun. So a couple really great things they've got, that I just super
it looks
fun.
Like this choose your course is their theme for this year, which is interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too. So I guess we'll see how that kind of plays out into any of the other stuff that they put up as far as decor and those types of things. Cute little wine glass tumbler. So they do a lot of that type of thing for the festival. I know, special Figment pass holder shirt, which I did think it was interesting that they brought Figment back in again because Figment was very big in Festival of the Arts at the beginning of this year.
He's a Festival of the Arts dude.
Yeah.
And then like
so
Orange Bird is like the flower and
Flower
garden.
and Garden. Yeah. So bringing Figment back in, I thought that was a very interesting choice.
We also have this, looks like a popcorn bucket.
Yes, so this is very similar to the popcorn bucket that we saw that got released in Disneyland when they got their version of Runaway Railway. There was a popcorn bucket almost identical to this with a red and white checkered little blanket inside, I guess, for lack of better terms. So this food and wine specific one, and if it's hard to see in the photo, but right on the very top of the basket you can see they put the logo on top of there, and they changed it to the blue and white. So a little variation on that same popcorn bucket, but that one is specific to food and wine this year.
There's some little ants on there too. That's what those little
I
black
know,
things are.
it's cute little details.
Yeah. At first I thought it was a spider, and I was like, nope.
You're like, wait a minute.
No.
And then they've also got, there's a lounge fly too, which I don't think we
yeah.
showed yet. I think that's the last one we didn't
This
show.
one's cute. I like this.
Yeah. So they've got that lounge fly too, which I think is fun. The same pattern as the ears, and then it's got that kind of spaceship earthy front to it, kind of. So super fun.
like
So
that
lots
one.
of good festival merch this year. I feel like very fitting for food and wine. Again, not really sure about the Figment aspect of it, so I guess we'll see if there's any other merch that comes out with Figment on it. But that's the only thing that he's on. Like, he's not on the ears or the loungefly or any of that kind of stuff. And he's super cute. Like,
He is.
I love little Figment with his chef hat on. So
I'm trying to decide what he's making. He's holding what, tortillas or something, and then like
Yeah.
a burger on the side. And like it's a
hodgepodge.
it's a mixture of food.
It is. Yes. So again, lots of super fun merch that you can find if that's something that interests you. And typically they do have that merch kind of scattered around World Showcase. They usually will have some stuff inside of Creations. They usually also have some stuff inside of the Odyssey Pavilion. That's where they had a lot of the stuff for Flower and Garden. And then there are also little kind of like pop-up booth tents throughout World Showcase that you can oftentimes find stuff. So if you don't find stuff where you're looking at first, take a walk around World Showcase, because you may be able to find what you're looking for out there. I know that happened a lot with the Flower and Garden merch.
Yeah, I feel like they do have a lot of that in the Odyssey Pavilion, though, and it's also a great place to kind of cool off for a little while because it's in the AC.
Yeah, hopefully they
so if
keep
you
those
need to
tables
just
and
get out of
chairs
it.
in there, because that was really great that they had that
know.
option for Flower and Garden. So for those of you who don't know, if you were headed into the Odyssey Pavilion, there is a really nice seating area that was not too terribly busy, so don't tell your friends.
Just
keep
you
it to
guys,
yourself.
it's just for you.
But they do have a nice little setup in there with tables and chairs that you could carry, kind of, because you guys know the standard of Epcot is using a trash can for a table to eat. You know, there's not a ton of seating places around that aren't, sit down inside restaurants or quick service restaurants. So if you're getting festival food, having a place, if you're kind of towards the front of World Showcase close to Future World, grabbing stuff from those booths, you can head on into that area. And like I said, hopefully they keep the seating in there.
Yeah, I've actually sat in there and write when I was writing books and things in Epcot. That's one of my places I sit when it's really hot outside and I can't. One time I was sitting in Japan, little side note, I was sitting in Japan and I was like, it was perfect. It was shady. I was enjoying it because there are some little spots tucked up in the shade in Japan that are actually really nice, pleasant places to sit. But then one of these like festival bands came on and started playing and it was extremely loud. And I was like, I can't even hear myself think. So I relocated to the Odyssey Pavilion instead.
Yeah,
So.
you're like, change of scenery.
It's like, no.
Perfect timing.
The music was great, but just not what I needed at that
No,
moment.
not what you needed at the moment to focus on your plot line.
No, was not helpful.
Love it. So yeah, that is kind of in a nutshell your, I guess, 90-minute guide to to food and wine, primarily focused on kiddo stuff. If you guys have additional questions, or like I said, if you can't find any of the guides we talked about, that we'll make sure to stick that in our show notes for those of you who are listening later, or if you want to hop back on once you get closer to your trip to find that will be available on his website, walruscarp.com. But yeah, so if you're headed to the festival, would love to hear what you guys try and what you liked, what you didn't like, and all that.
So
Yeah, so if you don't know, Kate and her husband Elliot are headed to Walt Disney World next week. So for Mom Street, that just means we'll do just a quick chat next week on Thursday. We'll have to double check times and make sure we coordinate all of that. Because 9 o'clock is not a great time to be
like
chatting.
closing time
Yeah.
for everything.
Yeah. So we'll have to see what we can do next week about time. Next week is a really busy week for me, so we'll figure that out. And then after that, we're going to do just kind of like a little mini series on one-day park strategies. So that's coming up in August once we get there.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for Mom Street USA. Loved talking about all this delicious food with you guys this evening, and also some strategies of things to do with your kids at Food and Wine. We will see you next week as we're going to chat next week, and then after that we'll be digging into that park strategy guide series. So
yes.
Thank you Jackie,
guys so much.
Thank you everybody for all your comments and hanging with us. We appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah, and we'll catch you next week.
Right. Bye guys.
Bye.
See ya.